When you've spent your entire life doing everything right and somehow still end up losing everything, it changes something inside you. For me, it was like watching the world sprint ahead while I was trapped in slow motion. Every friend I knew was winning, jobs, promotions, expensive apartments, and I was just surviving. I remember staring at my reflection one night, pale, tired, hollow. The kind of face you see in bathroom mirrors at 3 a.m. when sleep won't come. All I could think was, how did I end up here? I did everything I was told. Study hard. Be good. Make something that helps people. But all I got in return was failure, pain, and a kind of loneliness I can't even put into words. And that's when something in me snapped. Not the kind that makes you break, but the kind that wakes you up. I wasn't going to end my story here. If the world wanted to bury me, I'd dig myself out and make them watch. If you've ever felt like the world gave you the short end of the stick, if you've ever been overlooked, underestimated, or left behind while everyone else made it, hit that like button. Because this isn't just a story about pain. It's about turning that pain into purpose and proving that the people who wrote you off should have never counted you out. I was the kid who always had a plan. The one teachers said would change the world. I skipped parties, studied late, stayed humble. I went to one of the top 5 engineering schools in the country, the kind of place where everyone's a genius and failure isn't an option. I graduated early at 20. That was supposed to be my proudest moment. Instead, it became the start of everything that broke me. I jumped straight into a PhD program, biomedical engineering. I wanted to cure diseases, not make apps or sell ads. I thought doing good meant I'd eventually do well. But the world doesn't work like that. It rewards shortcuts, not sincerity. It celebrates the clever, not the kind. By the time I mastered out, basically dropped out with a lesser degree, I was already exhausted, hollowed out, and unsure who I even was anymore. You know what burnout feels like. It's not fire. It's ice. You don't explode, you just freeze. Slowly. Quietly. I remember the first morning I couldn't get out of bed. Not because I was lazy, but because my own body had betrayed me. An autoimmune condition. Out of nowhere. Like my body was saying, "You've been fighting too hard for too long." I spent months like that, stuck in bed, scrolling through social media, watching old classmates travel, marry, buy houses, live. Every post felt like a punch. And when I finally got a job, it was the kind that eats you alive, 70 hours a week, underpaid, unappreciated. I'd wake up tired, work till midnight, sleep for 4 hours, and do it again. When I finally quit, I didn't even feel relief. Just emptiness. My dream startup was supposed to be my comeback. It failed within 6 months. Investors ghosted me. Partners backed out. My savings evaporated. 8 months of unemployment followed. Endless applications, rejections, and the same robotic email over and over. We've decided to move forward with another candidate. Meanwhile, the same people who barely passed their classes, the ones I used to tutor, were living the lives I dreamed of. They didn't want to save the world. They just learned how to play it. I remember sitting in my apartment one night, surrounded by unpaid bills, staring at my laptop like it was mocking me. I wasn't even angry at them anymore. I was angry at myself for being so naive, for believing that doing good would mean anything in a world that only rewards greed. It's strange how quiet despair can be. There's no screaming, no shattering glass, just silence. Every morning, I'd open my eyes and feel like I was already behind. Behind in career, behind in life, behind in everything. I'd see my reflection in the mirror and whisper, "You're wasting space." But deep inside, beneath the exhaustion and self-hate, a tiny spark refused to die. A voice whispered, "This can't be the end." So I made a choice, not to die but to destroy. Not people, not myself, but the version of me that let others define my worth. If the world didn't want to see my value, I'd build something they couldn't ignore. This was no longer about chasing approval. It was about revenge, the kind you earn by surviving, rebuilding, and shining so bright that every person who doubted you is forced to watch. The day I decided to start over wasn't dramatic. No inspirational music, no sunrise epiphany. Just me, sitting in a dark room, staring at the ceiling, whispering, enough. Enough feeling sorry for myself. Enough envying everyone else's success. Enough believing that my story ended here. I opened my laptop, hands shaking, and started typing code. It was messy, slow, painful, but it was mine. For the first time in years, I wasn't trying to impress anyone. I wasn't working for a boss, a professor, or an invisible audience. I was working for me. I built tiny projects at first, apps no one would ever use, then bigger ones. I started freelancing online, taking on small clients. Nothing glamorous, but it paid just enough to keep me going. And for the first time in years, I felt a flicker of control. The same mind that once doubted everything started whispering again, maybe you can still make something of this. That was my quiet revenge, not shouting back at the world, but rebuilding in silence. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't a loud victory. It's the moment you rise, and they don't even see it coming. I used to hate the system. Now, I study it. I started noticing patterns, the kind of people who got promoted, the ones who built businesses, the ones who always won. They weren't smarter. They just understood leverage, timing, and confidence. So I stopped apologizing for being ambitious. I stopped playing the humble underdog. And I started treating life like a game of chess, not morality. I took online courses in computer science, joined coding communities, built a network, and quietly positioned myself for what was coming next. Every night, I'd code till dawn. Every morning, I'd study. I didn't have money, connections, or luck. But I had something far more dangerous: obsession. Months turned into a year. The rejections stopped hurting. The silence stopped scaring me. I was changing, not just rebuilding my career, but reprogramming my mind. And somewhere deep inside, the part of me that once cried over old classmates' success started smiling. Because I knew something they didn't. They'd already peaked. I was just getting started. When the first offer came, I almost didn't believe it. A mid-tier tech company. A salary higher than anything I'd ever made before. I wanted to scream, but I didn't. I just smiled, signed the papers, and started working, quietly. Then came another opportunity, a startup looking for engineers to build a medical AI platform. It was poetic, really. The same dream that once broke me was now what I was being paid to create. And guess who came knocking later? The same classmates who once pitted me. The same professors who said I wasted potential. They reached out for advice, referrals, even investment. I didn't rub it in. That's not real revenge. Real revenge is when you become the storm they didn't see coming. When you're so far ahead, the people who doubted you can't even reach you to apologize. And so I smiled, helped where I could, and kept moving, because the truth is, success tastes better when you don't need to serve it to anyone. One night, I was walking home from work, tired, headphones on, city lights flickering on wet pavement. A notification buzzed on my phone. LinkedIn message, "Hey, long time no see. I've been following your progress. I'm really proud of you." It was from the same person who once told me, "You're too idealistic. Real life doesn't work that way." I stopped walking, and for a second I felt that old anger rise, but it was gone as quickly as it came, because in that moment I realized this wasn't about revenge anymore. I didn't need validation. I didn't need them to know what I'd been through. The real victory wasn't that I had made it. It was that I had survived and kept my humanity intact. The old me wanted revenge on the world. The new me had outgrown the world that hurt him. And that right there was the truest form of revenge, not destruction, but transformation. It's strange how life changes when you stop chasing validation. The same rooms that once felt hostile start to open. The same people who ignored you start to listen. Within 2 years, I wasn't just employed, I was leading a small development team. The irony? We were working on AI tools to help diagnose autoimmune diseases, the very condition that once left me bedridden. When my manager asked why this project mattered so much to me, I simply said, because I know what it feels like to wait for help that never comes. That's when it hit me. All the pain, the rejection, the burnout, the bitterness, it had forged something sharper than talent. It had given me empathy with precision. I didn't just write code anymore. I wrote healing into the system. My revenge wasn't fire and fury. It was calm, deliberate creation, the kind that whispers, I made it out. And now, I'm helping others do the same. Sometimes I imagine meeting my past self, the one lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, wondering if life was over. I'd sit beside him, hand him a cup of coffee and tell him the truth. You didn't fail. You were just early. The world wasn't ready for you. But that doesn't mean you stop building. I'd tell him to keep dreaming, but this time, to dream smarter, to be kind to himself, to stop measuring worth by LinkedIn posts or paychecks. And I'd whisper the most important line of all. You don't need revenge on them. You just need to remember who you are. Because revenge fades, but purpose rewires everything. Sometimes people ask me, don't you regret wasting so much time? And I always smile. No time was wasted. Every failure carved me into someone who could survive the fall. Every wrong turn forced me to learn a new skill, meet a new person, face a new truth. If I'd gotten success too early, I'd have taken it for granted. Now I earn it every day. My lost years weren't a detour, they were my foundation. And the irony? Those classmates I once envied, some of them reached out again, burned out, disillusioned, wondering what comes next. I tell them the same thing I learned the hard way. You can rebuild anything once you stop defining yourself by the scoreboard. That's the real secret. The world can break you, mock you, doubt you, but it can't destroy you if you keep moving quietly forward. Revenge isn't always about making others suffer. Sometimes it's about making peace and watching them wonder how you did it. Now, when I walk into a room, I carry silence like armor. Not arrogance, peace. The kind of peace that can only be earned through chaos. And every time I look in the mirror, I don't see failure anymore. I see the man who refused to die in the fire because he realized he was the fire. So yes, I got my revenge, but not the kind you see in movies. Mine was quieter, cleaner, eternal. I turned the pain that once tried to end me into the reason I'll never quit. Because the ultimate revenge is to live. Sometimes the world will break you on purpose, just to see if you're strong enough to rebuild yourself differently. And if you do, the same people who laughed at your pain will one day whisper your name with respect.